I.S.U.P.K, nigga, straight out of one West, no contest. We the best to the niggas that's living, trying to contend with the stress. Going through the test, no access, cause you repressed. Slaves is dying off in waves. Living in dirt, now it's a grave. Niggas crosswalk through the crosswalk, enjoy the white chalk over the bodies of roads that you made. American laws saying they fear us with the drugs in the hood. To the slaughter, I'm eating harder and harder, baptized with these. Children, the fathers looking for them, water. This fucking taking the daughters, nigga, this war. Showtime, got the green light on that ass, yeah, go time. Either boot up, shut up, or get your ass up. We ain't got time to be playing this all fucked up. America, happy for the thief, hell for the slave, reaping what you sow, be to give it back what you gave for a clean slate. Try to imitate, you was always fake. America, every city, state, this is your fate. Whoa, 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 to America. 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 Run on the timeline, giving them up to expose. Forget you can see the big vibe. You want pop, blank shit. Get what it is, past time, so in the minute, I'm past out. I hope you get it, dig it, you can crash fly. Kinda simple, you feel it, that's your last line. You feel real confused, a bad mind. A damn shame, it's the exact thing, don't get your ass fried. Bombs from the sky, rich devil lullaby. Then the nigga fly, hope you got an alibi. Bombs from the sky, rich devil lullaby. Damn, this is high. See him from the parking lot, never finna fall out. Devils finna fall out, all our warfare, nightmares. In the big office, murdered us for years. And thinking shit won't gon' turn around. I never learned, this motherfucker burns down. Yeah, in the streets, told them to preach. All of you angels bring hope to this beast. You wait for time, but we play for keeps. I pray to my father, bring hope to this beast. Remember them times we hung on trees. All of you nations brought down to your knees. Remember them shits, they brought us fleets. Fuck they Apollo, bring them to heat. Whoa, 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 to America. Whoa, whoa, to America. Whoa, 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 to America. Whoa, 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 to America.
God is going to destroy this empire, man. You about to see famine in this place. You think them fires in California is bad? That's just the beginning of what the Lord is about to do. Because you've been evil to the Lord's people. You've been wicked to the Most High's children, man. You've been destructive to the 12 tribes of Israel. Let me tell you something, black man. You got to put on your strength now, man. Put back on your strength and might, black man, because your day is coming. Your day is coming because the Lord is going to bring judgment on this earth.
Damn right, I'm a U.P.K nigga, straight out of one West, no contest. We the best to the niggas that's living, trying to contend with the stress. Going through the test, no access, cause you repressed. Slaves, niggas is dying off in waves. Living in dirt, now it's a grave. Niggas crosswalk through the crosswalk, enjoy the white chalk over the bodies of roads that you made. Americans killing us, saying they fearing us with the drugs in the hood. Now my niggas delirious, put a gun in my face. All because of my race, click, boom, flash. Since the Skittles and murder my ass. Like a chick to the slaughter, I'm eating harder and harder. Baptized with these words, never dipping in water. So now we pray to the Father. Give strength to the Father that's looking for the water. This fucking taking our daughters, nigga. More time, lights up, nigga, showtime. Got the green light on that ass, yeah, go time. Shut up, but get your ass up. We ain't got time to be playing this all fucked up America. Happy for the thief, hell for the slave, reaping what you sow, be to give it back what you gave for a clean slate. Try to imitate, you was always fake. America, every city, state, this is your fate. Whoa, 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 to America. Whoa, 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 to America. Whoa, 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 to America. Whoa, 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 to America.
Run on the timeline, giving them up to expose. Forget you can see the big vibe. You want pop, blank shit. But get what it is, past time, so in the minute, I'm past out. I hope you get it, dig it, you can crash fly. Kinda simple, you feel it, that's your last line. You feel real confused, a bad mind. A damn shame, it's the exact thing, get your ass fried. Bombs from the sky, rich devil lullaby. Then the nigga fly, hope you got an alibi. Bombs from the sky, rich devil lullaby. Murdered us for years and thinking this shit won't turn around. I never learned from this motherfucker burns down. Yeah, told them the riches of all of you angels bring hope to this beast. You rule for a time, but we play for keeps. I'm afraid of my father, bring hope to this beast. Remember them times we hung on the trees. All of you nations bow down to your knees. Remember them shits, they brought us some fleets. Fuck they Apollo, bring them the heat. Whoa, 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 to America. Whoa, whoa, to America. Whoa, 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 to America. Whoa, 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 to America.
God is going to destroy this empire. You about to see famine in this place. You think them fires in California is bad? That's just the beginning of what the Lord is about to do. Because you've been evil to the Lord's people. You've been wicked to the Most High's children, man. You've been destructive to the 12 tribes of Israel. Let me tell you something, black man. You got to put on your strength now, man. Put back on your strength and might, black man, because your day is coming. Your day is coming because the Lord is going to bring judgment on this earth.
All right, Shalom Israel. Prison Officer Matt Kwaya of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, which started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yahanna. Right, in the Israelite School, we teach that Black Hispanics and Native Indians are part of the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel. Right, the Bible is your history, your records that your forefathers left for you, so that you'll be able to navigate yourself through these lands that we are in, scattered through the 4 corners of the earth. You'll be able to navigate yourself through the things that the oppressors, the snares that the oppressors will set for you, and also too, you'll be able to navigate your way back to the Most High. You understand? Because of course, many questions are being asked in terms of things like what happening to Black people, why things not working out for Black people, but what we don't understand as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, the reason why things not working out for us or things not happening for us, or why we're in this condition is because we're not serving our God. You understand? We are serving gods of other nations. And when I say other nations, I'm speaking about other races. You understand? For example, the white image we have, what was taught us, that is Jesus Christ. That is not Jesus Christ. That is a man by the name of Cesare Borgia. You understand? But when you come into the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General Yahanna, he's going to understand who is your king. He's going to understand who is your God. You're going to understand that your king, Yahweh, or who we call Jesus Christ, he is dark-skinned just like you. You understand? You're going to understand also too that every other race is mentioned in this Bible, every other nation. But we have to know what role they fit in this Bible. And when you go in and you read, you're going to understand that they had their hand in your captivity for centuries, for a very long time. You understand? You're going to understand that Babylon the Great, which is America, that is going to fall. You're going to understand that you, so-called black man, you are not an African. Of course, you were taught that from small, but again, you were taught that that white image was Jesus Christ by our oppressor. You were taught that you were African from your oppressor. Africans never sold Africans into slavery. As we go to the last class, the previous class from before, there are a few questions that we had asked ourselves. If this was so, why these things did not happen? Africans never sold Africans into slavery. Africans knew exactly who they were selling into slavery. The Europeans, the Arabs, they knew exactly who they was buying when we was being sold from the west coast of Africa. You understand? And as we go down later into the class, you're going to understand that it was not Africans was being sold. It was not Africans that's being bought by the Europeans. You understand? Before we get into the class, all right, I want to say that make sure and tune into all I.S.U.P.K classes through the week. We have classes Sunday through Sunday, right? Different days, there are different classes. On Mondays, we have the history class with Professor Kobal, where you learn about the history. The Bible is your history. So you'll learn about the history that was given to you by your forefathers. You're going to learn the things that we went through as a people and as a nation. On Tuesdays, we have the brotherhood class with Officer Sawapia Allah, things that we need to know. You understand how we should live with our brothers and sisters. You understand? On Wednesdays, we have the lower class with myself, Officer Matt Kwaya, where we learn about the laws of the Most High. For example, we not supposed to be celebrating the holidays of this world, the holidays of our oppressor, like Easter and Christmas and so forth, emancipation and so forth, like things like that, right? We're supposed to be celebrating the high holy days that the Lord gave to us, because of course we are the Lord's chosen people. He gave us laws to follow. We're supposed to be following his high holy days. You understand? Feast of Hanukkah, Feast of First Fruits, Day of Atonement, and all these different things. We're supposed to be keeping the Sabbath and so forth, right? On Tuesdays, we stream class from time to time, right? From headquarters with different generals, but mostly 12 Shield General Mahaiman, right? On Fridays, we have the Lashawan Kodash with Officer Yakad. Of course, that is the Holy Tongue, where we learn to read, write, and speak Hebrew. You will start from basic things like the alphabet, you understand? And come right up to common and regular sentences, right? On Saturdays, we have the Sabbath service. On Saturdays, we have the Sabbath service. I give it to Officer Yakad, but you will see different brothers coming up and reading as well too. You understand? Stating their registry. These are different things that they will learn, and they will come and they will go through the first 5 books of Moses. They will go through what your forefathers went through. You understand? They will learn the things that the Lord gave to your forefathers to keep and to pass down throughout their generations, right? On Sundays, we have the scripture breakdown class with Officer Galawan, who's our camp leader, right? On Sundays, you can come, ask your questions, get them answered, right? If you don't want to ask your questions immediate, even in all the classes, right on to the Hebrew class or the lower class or the history class or the brotherhood class, you don't want to ask a question immediately, you could always leave the question in the comment box, right? Maybe on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and so forth, right? Where you could get your question answered appropriately, right? So now we're going to go back into the last class we had on Wednesday. Was Negroes is not African. We saw where the former prime minister, she was able to trace her ancestry right back to where she was born. You understand? She knew who her people was. She knew her tribe. She knew her lineage. Give me the book and Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18, Baba Kusha, if you could. Right? She was able to trace herself right back to her ancestors. You understand? We as a people, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we're not able to do that outside of the UPK. Outside of the UPK, you're going to go right back to being, you're going to go right back to what the oppressor taught us, and that is being an African. You understand? You're going to be able to go right back biblically to understand that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was your forefathers. You understand? You are part of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Just like the Venezuelans coming in, you understand? The Mexicans, they are your brothers and sisters also. You understand? The Haitians, the Jamaicans, they are your family. They are your brothers. But we are not being taught this by our institutions, maybe in school, maybe in our religious institutions. We are not being taught this. You understand? But of course, when you come into the I.S.U.P.K, you're going to learn. You're going to learn who are your brothers and sisters. You're going to learn about the next 11 tribes, because of course, we in the West Indies are from the tribe of Benjamin. That does not mean that other tribes is not walking among us. Just like the Venezuelans are here, they are our brothers and sisters. Also, the tribe of Asher, they are walking among us. You understand? They are Sakarites walking among us too, here in Trinidad. You understand? When you have it, go ahead, Officer Shah.
Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month.
So this is what we used to do back then. You understand? When we had our land, when we had our nation, we used to assemble ourselves together. Go ahead.
And they declare their pedigree.
And declare our pedigree, declare our lineage. You understand? Go ahead.
After their families. By the house of their fathers.
By the house of who?
Of their fathers.
And this is what we would do. We would declare our pedigree, our lineage, by the house of our fathers. You understand? And this is one thing that our forefathers left for us to read, as the scriptures say. The things that were written aforetime were written for us to learn, or written for our learning, just paraphrasing. Right? This is what we need to know as a people. You understand? Whoever your father is, that's who you are. And that is what will start to eliminate some of the confusion that will be going on in people's mind when they call themselves half African or half Chinese or Douglas or half Syrian or whatsoever the case may be. Whatsoever your father is, that is who you are. For example, if your father is a Negro man, right, and your mother is an East Indian, you are a Negro. If your mother is Chinese, your father is Negro, you are a Negro. It's have nothing called Douglas and all these kind of thing and half this and half that. Whatsoever your father is, that is what you are. If your father is a so-called white man and your mother is black, you are a so-called white man. You understand? If your father is a East Indian or a Syrian or a Chinese and slept with a black woman, right? You are what they are, meaning you are either Chinese, a so-called white man, or a Syrian. You understand? You are what your father is. So that is what will eliminate the confusion, because most times with our people, we like to lean to the other races. So for example, if we say, well, I half Indian, we lean more to the other race, but by our father being of Negro descent. You understand? We will lean more to the other race. But when you come and look at it biblically, you're going to understand that you are Negro. You're going to understand the things that your forefathers went through. You're going to understand how these other nations had your people in captivity, in slavery, in servitude, building up their nation, building up their economy. You understand? You're going to understand also that you are part of the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel. You know, Douglas, you don't need to go in no temple. You understand? You know Arab, you don't need to go in the mosque. You are a Jew, a Hebrew Israelite. And to come back to your records, to start understanding that, to come back to your people, as the Lord says in Zephaniah 2:1, gather yourself together. That is what you're supposed to do, so-called black man, Hispanic man, woman, or child. You understand? That is another right, Officer Shah?
Right. I'm going to start over.
Yeah, you can start over, no sir.
Right. Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers.
Understand? So we will declare our pedigree by the house of our fathers. So that will eliminate the confusion of you being Douglas or half Chinese or half Syrian or half French or whatsoever the case might be. Once you know who your father is, that's who you are. You understand? If you don't know your father is, of course, they come into the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General Yohanna, and you're going to understand who your father is. You understand? Your men above us going to let you know who your father is. You understand? Go ahead.
According to the number of their names, from 20 years old and upward by their polls.
Right. You understand? And that is what we did back then, to understand who we are. Right? Of course, we're going, of course, even when you look at the way how things is now, you understand? Our identity constantly change. 1 minute they will call us Negro, next minute they will call us black, next minute they will call us African American. You understand? Or colored or whatsoever the case might be. Even forms we filling out to get jobs or visa applications or passport applications, ID card, license, whatsoever the case might be, you always see it have on these forms black or African descent. You understand? So no, you constantly get this pushed on you by these other nations, you thinking that you're African. Of course, they're not going to put Hebrew Israelite or Israelite on the form, but they know exactly who you are. You understand what I'm saying? Right? I'm just going to I'm going to touch on 2 articles here before we go further down into the class, right? We're going to touch on these 2 articles here. You understand? Of course, one is from 2018, right? That was October, but we'll touch on one. I ain't gonna go into the 2, right? We'll touch on one. This was from in 2018, where the African groups were saying that African groups apologize for forefathers' role in slavery. You understand? They didn't say for our forefathers' role in slavery. They say for forefathers role in slavery, because of course these Africans know that that their forefathers had a hand in selling you into slavery. They know that you are not so-called Africans. You understand? So now they come in after 400 years, you understand, to play the apologizing for slavery. You understand? When you get to understand who you are, when you get to understand your nation, your people, you understand, you wouldn't stand up and, all right, we accept your apology. You will do what is right in the eyes of the Most High. You will keep his laws, commandments, and statutes, just like he tell it to keep. You understand? And he will bring forth redemption for you, so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man. You understand? You have to accept that apology. So we go in into the article, right? If you have it up. When you finish. In the meantime, right? Just recapping back on what happened last week. You understand? You will understand also too why in the public school system that they never talk about slavery in terms of like going before slavery. You understand? They just keep it just as slavery and Africa. But they don't go before slavery, who you were, what kind of people it was, what kind of foods you will eat, how you will dress. You understand? They don't go before that. You understand? And what is most important with that, why they wouldn't go back after slavery or before slavery, is because they know that your identity is the most important thing. And they know once they keep that from you, you is always going to be in servitude, so-called black man. Even when you look around today, our people not knowing their identity, just walking around blind and in servitude. Yes, we are in servitude under the hands of the oppressor. You understand? These other nations, we are under them at the moment, according to the Most High. You understand? Again, not because the so-called white man got us from Africa, that means we're Africans. Not because we might have similar trait to the Africans, dark skin, you understand, means that we as Africans. We're going to go into a little bit of history also. White scholars, you understand, documented in their history books that we are not Africans. And this is coming from the so-called white man, you oppressor. You understand? So when they come and tell you things like the Bible was written by a white man, but then they coming back and tell you in their records, you understand, King James was a black man. In their records, blacks are the real Jews, Negroes are the real Jews. In their records, Negroes are not Africans. That's supposed to tell you a lot. But the Lord say again, gather yourself together, O nation not desired. When you start learning more about your people and your nation, you're going to realize you is that nation not desired. And the only gathering that's taking place right now, in the midst of everything what's happening, the coronavirus, satellites going to space and all these different things, is this gathering in the I.S.U.P.K commanding GEN.YAHANNA. In the midst of everything what's happening. You understand? Just going through a few things from last week, right? From the last class, right? We've seen whereby the Africans never came first till this day. They never set up no ships, no armies, nothing to come for their people on this side. You understand? In the Americas, they never did that. But now all they're doing is just apologizing for slavery. And everybody throughout the earth know the heinous things that happened to Negroes during this period of slavery. You understand? During the transatlantic slave trade, right? African group apologized for slavery. There's an article from 2018, right? In Loop News. So we go in and read, right? African religious leaders on Wednesday made an apology to Jamaicans and the world at the Jamaican Conference Center in Kingston for the role their forefathers played in the trans-Saharan and transatlantic slave trade centuries ago. Led by chairman of the African Forum on Religion and Government, Professor Delano Adevo, the leaders asked for forgiveness and made a number of promises to work for the betterment of humanity. And of course, these leaders know exactly who they are. These leaders know exactly who you are, who the Jamaicans are. You understand? The leaders were guests of the Jamaican Christian Diaspora Conference And also in attendance were members of the Queen Mothers Association of the Central Region of Ghana, which is led by Nana Dr. Ama Amisa III. Now look at what happening here, right? These people take their even their associations, their religions, and bring it across on this side, set up, and have the so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Negro man confused. Not only Africans doing this, all the other nations doing this. They're setting up their associations. For example, like in Trinidad, here, that the Black Caucus movement. You understand? And keeping our people confused as to what's really going on, right? Also, representatives from a number of Jamaican ministries and agencies attended the event. According to Professor Adevo, members of AFREG agreed and support those individuals who fought against all forms of slavery during the 300 years that the slave trade existed. While apologizing to Africans, that is how that happened, while apologizing to Africans, right, as well as the African diaspora in the Americas and elsewhere, Adevo asked for repentance for the inhumane and painful experience of the slave industry, because of course everybody knows the inhumane and painful experience that the slaves went through, right? The slave trade started during the 1400s and ended in 1700s, during which European countries legalized the enslavement of Africans in their various colonies in industries such as sugar and cotton. You understand? So now these Africans apologizing for slavery, right? For the things that their forefathers did, right? We just play this little video here as it here one time.
The leaders of the African Forum on Religion and Government, AFREG, hereby number one, celebrate the gallant efforts of Africans and non-Africans who resisted and fought against slavery in general, and the trans-Saharan and transatlantic slave trades in particular. Number two, we apologize unconditionally to people of African descent in Africa, the Americas, Middle East, Europe, and elsewhere on behalf of Africans who collaborated with slavery in Africa and the trans-Saharan and transatlantic slave trades. Number three, we resolve to promote the repentance of these inhuman and painful experiences of the past and present before God and fellow humans, turning them into valuable lessons for respectful and meaningful engagement of Africans in Africa and the diaspora, in resisting proactively and passionately from now on all modern forms of slavery, discrimination, neocolonialism, exploitation, and oppression among people of African descent and all other peoples. In the light of the above, we as leaders of the African Forum on Religion and Government are here in Kingston, Jamaica, at the Jamaica Christian Diaspora Conference of 2018 on behalf of the Africans in Africa, to apologize unconditionally to you, Caribbean Africans, for the contribution of Africans to the transatlantic slave trade in particular. We deeply empathize with all the negative effects of the transatlantic slave trade on you as a people. We pray for healing and oneness as one people, as we focus our attention, efforts, and resources on working toward a new future that honors God and promotes human dignity, respect, freedoms, justice, transformation, and development. We also implore you to respect and celebrate the gallant efforts of our African leaders.
And if you watch, right, you see where that East Indians there, the Syrians there, so-called white man there, you understand? So everybody now, when you see this, is like, boy, all these other nations, they having pity or that that sorrow for what you went through. And you looking in and not saying, by the way, boy, these other nations here, but they really feel it for with it. Not knowing that that wasn't so, right?
Who resisted the slave trade and other forms of operation, in a good number of cases, at the cost of their very lives. We should unite as one people to build on their bravery and sacrifice, working toward a new future of freedom and prosperity under God. With one love and one heart, let us get together and feel all right. On behalf of the African Forum for Religion and Government and the leaders of the people of Africa, we present this declaration.
Right? So they present the whatever to the Negro guy there, and these is the things that we run with. You understand? Even when you look right up to today, you even watch and you're seeing how these African leaders dress. You understand? But when they see us on the streets, in our garments and fringes on our pants, our headband, our war scarf, you understand? They're telling us that we crazy. But look how these Africans dress. You understand? Go in their conference. That is they know their culture. But that is not the culture of the so-called black man. Even today, when you look at this, no black, Hispanic, or Native Indian man going and dress like that to say they're going out in public. You understand what I'm saying? Or to say they're going in no conference. We're not doing that. We as a people, we have our own way of life. This is the way of life for the Africans. Give me the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse, what did I tell you, 64? Baba Kusha. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, no, eh? Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64.
You understand? And we're going to read this here because this is prophecies from the Most High that Moses read to us. If we didn't listen to the Most High and follow his commandments, follow his high holy days, you understand? These is the things that is going to happen to us. If we wanted to indulge in ourselves in homosexuality and smoking and whoredom, adultery, celebrating Christmas and Easter and independence and emancipation, these is the things that's going to happen to us. If we refuse to follow God, if we refuse to follow the Most High, and these Africans know that. When you look at the transatlantic slave trade, you see where we were scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Look the same, our African quote-unquote brothers and sisters in the Americas and all over. You understand? Go ahead, Officer Sasha.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. And the Most High will scatter thee among all people.
You understand? So the Lord was going to scatter us among all people. Among all people, meaning among all races. All right? Among the East Indians, among the Chinese, among the Syrians, among the Arabs, we are going to be scattered among all people. The so-called white man, go ahead.
From the one end of the earth.
From one end of the earth, where we will, go ahead.
Even unto the other.
Even to another. Go ahead.
And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
And there we was going to serve other gods, which us, neither our fathers have known. You understand? We started to follow the ways of the other nations. We wanted to serve their gods. You understand? Just like I just watch this, have this Negro guy that's come up on these Indian shows, right? When coming close to the Diwali. You understand? He just be on Ian Allen and all these different things too, where he playing this instrument and he playing it better than most of these East Indians that I see playing it. You understand? He getting himself entangled in things that the Lord already prophesied we will start serving other gods, which our forefathers never knew. Go ahead.
Even wood and stone.
Even wood and stone. You understand? The Christian cross and going back to the cobblestone, we start to follow the religion of these other nations, the gods of these other nations. The Lord already let you know that the gods of these other nations, paraphrasing, is idols. We started to follow the African gods, and then we came down with Shango and Orisha, Baptist. You understand? We start coming with these things. These things, our forefathers never knew these things. Jump to verse 68, Baba Kusha.
Verse 68. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Egypt is just a synonymous word for bondage, because of course he was in Egypt, in the land of Egypt, serving hard bondage under Pharaoh. You understand? So the Lord is letting you know, I'm going to bring you back into bondage again. When we was in Egypt, we walked into Egypt. Now the Lord saying you're going to go on ships. That is speaking about the transatlantic slave trade. You're going to go into bondage again. This time you're going to go by ships. Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spoke unto thee.
You say the same way it's going to happen, same way I tell it going to happen. Well, you're going to go on ships. This is how it's going to happen. Go ahead.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
Meaning it was not going to see your homeland anymore again. Go ahead.
And there you shall be sold unto your enemies.
And when you reach where you're going to be scattered, so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, when you reach where you're going to be scattered, you're going to be sold unto your enemies. You understand? Go ahead.
For bondmen and bondwomen.
For slave men and slave women.
And no man shall buy you.
And the Lord letting you know that no man is going to buy you. No man is going to redeem you. Again, letting you know, so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, since you come across on this side, you was never free. The Lord already let us know, no man is going to buy us. No man is going to redeem us. You understand? Which means the only person to redeem us is our King Yahushua when he returns. You understand?
Right.
When he returns, it's thermal nuclear fire. You understand? That's going to usher in the World War III. So these Africans know exactly who we are. They know that. You understand? The Lord already prophesied this is going to happen to you. Give me Joel chapter 3 and verse 4, Baba Kusha. Joel chapter 3 and verse 4. And then I'll read from this book here. This one, Baba. Joel chapter 3 and verse 4.
Joel chapter 3 and verse 4. Yea, and what have you to do with me, O Tyreek and Zidon?
And this is the Lord speaking here. He's saying, yea, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? You understand? Tyre and Zidon is famous trade ports, famous African trading ports. So the Lord is asking them, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? Go ahead.
And all the coast of the Palestine.
And all the coast of Palestine. Go ahead.
Would you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head?
Lord say, if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, I'm going to return the recompense upon your head. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Because you have taken my silver and my gold.
They have taken the Lord's silver and his gold. You understand? Go ahead.
And I've carried into your temples my goodly, pleasant things.
You understand? They have carried into the temples his goodly, pleasant things. Talking about the children of Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 6. The children also of Judah.
The children of who?
Of Judah.
The children of who?
Of Judah.
The children of Judah. Go ahead.
And the children of Jerusalem.
And the children of Jerusalem, his chosen people. Go ahead.
Have you sold unto the Grecians?
Have you sold unto the so-called white man? You understand? All these is prophecies in the scriptures. All these things the Lord that warned us about. These things is what our forefathers left for us to read. So that we will see what these other nations, what these Africans, the East Indians, the Syrians, what they did to you, what they did to your forefathers. You understand? What they did. They know what they did. They know who you are. You understand? And then they come and they give us religion. They give us the Christian church. You understand? They give us dumb black religious leaders who not really looking out or looking for the well-being of their people. You understand? These religious leaders it's like what just call them on work again? Brown nose. You understand? These religious leaders like brown nose, those who just looking for a spot to bring more oppression on the people and to please the boss. Who is the so-called white man or the East Indian or the Syrian? They understand? These religious leaders like sell-out Negroes that you will see in a job. Your Officer Shah, go ahead. Coons. You understand? This is how these religious leaders is. You're damn right. You understand? They're not watching out for you. As the scriptures say, just paraphrasing, they say our gates languish. You understand? The protection for black people is destroyed. And these religious leaders supposed to be the protection for black people. Supposed to be the protection for Hispanics and Native Indians. But again, the only safe haven is the I.S.U.P.K under commanding Gen.YAHANNA. This is where the ark is being built. You understand? For the second wave that is about to come. You understand? Here is where it is being built. So we're going to read here, because most times in churches, if they do go into the lineage of Noah, they're going to show you where you had Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And when they read to you, wherever they get their teachings, they're going to show where Ham, you understand, is the father of all these dark races. So now you thinking you Hamitic, you thinking you're African, you thinking that you are part of the African diaspora. But that is not so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, right? We're going to read from the Zondervan, right? Compact Bible Dictionary. We're going to read from page 213, right? We're going to look for the word called Ham. And under Ham, we're going to read, right? Ham, the youngest son of Noah. So Ham was the youngest son of Noah. Of course, we know Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And before the flood came, they entered into the ark that Noah was building for over 120 years, whilst he was teaching, just like brothers doing on the streets all through the 4 corners of the earth, and telling people, trouble coming, get yourself together, keep the laws of the Most High. You understand? So he had 3 sons. They gathered themselves, entered the ark with their wives. Flood came, and everybody died. Right? Go ahead. Yeah, you can read it, Baba Kushan, no, sir.
Ham, the young.
Yeah, okay, no, sir.
Ham, the youngest son of Noah.
Right? So Ham was the youngest son of Noah. Right? It was Ham, Shem, and Japheth. But Ham was the youngest son. Go ahead.
Born probably about 96 years before the flood.
Right? So Ham was born probably about 96 years before the great flood. Before the flood. Go ahead.
And one of the 8 persons to live through the flood.
And he was one of 8 persons to live through the flood, to survive the flood. Go ahead.
He became the progenitor of the dark races.
So now Ham became the he became the forefather of the dark races. And this is where we stop. This is where the religious leaders stop. You understand? And keep the so-called black man confused. Because we say he became the forefather of the dark races. You understand? But when you go into these sources, that is so-called white man right, that who trying to keep you confused, you're going to see they're saying something different. You understand? Go ahead.
Not the Negroes.
So he became the progenitor or the forefather of the dark races, but not the so-called Negroes. Ham was not the forefather or the progenitor of the Negroes. But we're going to see who he was the forefather of. Go ahead.
But the Egyptians.
But the Egyptians.
The Ethiopians.
The Ethiopians.
The Libyans.
The Libyans.
And the Canaanites.
And the Canaanites. This is who Ham was the forefathers of. Over 3 native African races. You understand? So now, what these historians or scholars, they're trying to show the so-called readers. You understand? What they're trying to show them? They're trying to show them that you so-called black man, you is not a so-called, use not a African, not so-called, use not African, because they point out exactly who are the 4 families of native Africa. You understand? And they know you, so-called black man, you is not part of that. And then when you go into more history, more historical sources, more archaeology, you're going to see even more evidence, because it is predominant today that the so-called black man is not African. But of course, the oppressor and these other nations, they're going to keep pushing it to the last straw, to try their best to keep you confused, thinking that you are so-called Africans. You understand? That is why when you listen to certain songs or what certain shows, you understand, some quote-unquote slavery shows will show where you so-called black man is African. When you listen to so-called certain songs, I'm a humble African. You understand? And all these different songs. That is to keep you so-called black man confused. I'm not saying that the songwriter knew exactly what he was writing, but even in his confusion, he writing because he confused. And then when they realize the promoter now who is the so-called white man or whoever other nation beside the Negro race promoting it, they know that that's going to keep the so-called black man in confusion. You understand? That's not. They know, you understand, that that's going to keep the so-called black man in confusion, right? For example, like this. When we hear songs like this, there's one song I went and play.
From Cape to Cairo, Addis Ababa, Africa, Judah is George, Africa beloved, Africa beloved.
You understand? When you hear songs like that, it's black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man confused, because we thinking we're African. You understand? When we look up to these songwriters and these artists, you know, we thinking the song that they promoting is truth. You understand? But again, even in their ignorance, they're writing, but the one who is producing, the one who is in charge of the music industry, the prince of the power of the air, the so-called white man, they're going to push this on the so-called black man. You understand? These songs, they're not getting no copyright claim because it could push it. And we walking around with anger on our neck. You understand? And Jesus, peace, and all kind of thing, thinking we're African, when that is not so. You know, read what we're seeing. Ham is the forefather of 4 native African nations, 4 native African races, but not Negro people, not the Negroes. This, we're watching here. You understand? This is who Ham is the forefather of. You understand? These here is who Ham is the forefather of. Right? We're going to go in a little more history again. We're going to read from this book called The Black Image in the White Mind. Right? Right? We're going to read from The Black Image in the White Mind. And of course, this book is a debate, right, that 2 groups of people had on what to do with black people. You understand? If it's to keep them slaves or keep them ignorant of being slaves or quote unquote set them free. You understand? So they had a debate on what to do with the so-called Negro, right? I'm going to read from page 60. You understand? Of course, they're doing the studies and studying the so-called black man, and that letting them know something also. You understand? That they studying us, they know us better than we understand our own self. Because they're taking the time to do all the research on the so-called Negro, and they know exactly what to do to keep you in that servitude position. They know exactly the things to put forth to you, the marijuana, you understand, the abortion. They know what to push on you to keep you in this position that you're in. And even when you go more deep into the biblical records, You understand that your forefathers did for you? You seen where these other nations, they knew how to conquer the so-called black man. You understand? They know that. They know once they keep the so-called black man away from his laws, away from the laws that the Lord set for him, that was his ruin. That is the end there. You understand? So we're going to read from page 60, right? This is a book called The Black Image in the White Mind, right? So we're going to read here. The biblical curse of Ham could serve almost as well as seen. You could see it from the upstairs, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'll read some. You will read some wherever you want to read from the setting, right?
Now what's that?
Yeah, can you read from the biblical curse of Ham?
All right.
And then you could stop at. You will stop at the end, right?
All right. The biblical curse of Ham could serve almost as well. And in the hands of writers like Matthew, Estes, and Joshua Priest, it became a judgment of the Most High.
Right, so they were saying by this time, right, when they were debating, right, that was abolitionists and colonialists. While they was debating, right, they were saying that we were Africans, and they were studying what to do with us in terms of slavery, right? If they should keep us as servants or try to give us a place to be free, quote unquote free. You understand? And also too, they were saying that when they come and they read here saying that there was a judgment from God, they were also saying too that the position that black people in, yeah, that is what it's supposed to be. Because why? That is a judgment of God. Because they reading it from the premise that we are African, not reading it, sorry, debating from the premise that we are African. So they're saying the position we're in, yeah, that is a judgment from the Most High. You understand? Give me Genesis 9 and 25, Baba Kusha. Now remember, these historians, they're doing their archaeological work, their history work, and also too, they're doing their biblical research as well too, right? Genesis 9 and 25, if you could, Baba Kusha.
Genesis 9 and verse 25. Cursed be Canaan.
Cursed be who?
Cursed be Canaan.
Cursed be Ham, go ahead.
A servant of servants shall be unto his brethren.
You understand? So they say, cursed be Ham. A servant of servants he should be unto his brethren. And when you're reading where they wrote in this history book, you see where they say that is a judgment of God. So now they're thinking or going after the premise, the so-called Negro is African. You understand? We're going to read here again. Give me from William. Wait for me, yes, sir. I'll take the next one. William L. Yancey. William L. Yancey.
Yeah, all right.
Take it from
William L. Yancey, before a northern audience in 1860, your fathers and my fathers built this government and two ideas.
Right, so William Yancey before a northern audience, because they were debating, right, north and south. Right, so before a northern audience in the 1960s, he's saying this, right, that your fathers and my fathers, the north and the south, our fathers, right, built this government on two ideas. This is how this government was built. Go ahead.
The first is that the white race is a citizen.
Right, so the saying, the first is that the white race are citizens. Go ahead.
And the master race.
And the who?
And the master race.
So they're saying we the citizens and the master race. This is the two things, right, that was built, that this government was built on. But of course, this is one. You're going to the second one, but this is one that he's saying, right? Go ahead.
And the white man
with the citizens and the master race. Go ahead.
And the white man
and the so-called white man, go ahead,
is equal of every other white man.
So the white man is equal to every other white man. What that also telling you is that if a white man up north have slaves, the white man at south is equal as well to have slaves too. You understand? As it is saying in America, all men is created equal. You understand? Go ahead.
The second idea.
The second idea. So the first idea is we citizens, the superior race, and all men is created equal. Go ahead. All white men is created equal. Go ahead.
The second idea is that Negroes is the inferior race.
So the second idea is that the Negroes is the inferior race. You can stop right there. You understand? So that is how they built, their government was built on. And if you look at America today, that is where it was, that is what it built on. You understand? White people is the superior race. The black people is the inferior race. So we're the ones, you understand, we'll be looking at the so-called white man as being all powerful. You understand? This is what it was built on. When you look at the so-called Christ that they give us. You understand? When you look at Cesar Borgia, as we know him, you understand? But who the world will know as Jesus Christ. When you look at him, we seeing him as superior. You understand? We're not seeing him as inferior, because the white race is the superior race. So when they give us that white Jesus, that is what we're going to run with. You understand? We're not going to fight against that and say that is not our God. We're not going to fight against that and say that is not our king. Because this is what their government was built on, being the superior race. You understand? And that will let us so-called black man also know too that we're not going to fight against white Jesus, we're just going to accept it. Why you go fight against your God? You understand what I'm saying? We're just going to accept that and push forward. But this is how America was built. You understand? And as the scriptures say, all these nations, they drank out of fornication. They partake in the things that they laid out. You understand? They laid out what quote unquote terms to be right. So this is how, in their battle, in their debate, they're saying what happened. You understand? I'm gonna go to page 75. They're going to find out something here now, right? Now, if the so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, just take a little time, you understand, and wipe out what the so-called oppressor put in their head in terms of the Bible being a white man book, you're going to understand. That is why we'll see us on the street saying that the oppressor, the quote-unquote white man, the oppressor is the devil the Bible speaks of. You understand? He's deceiver. He take on the spirit of Satan. You understand? That's deceiving people throughout this earth, and that is what he fell victim to. You understand? The deception of the so-called white man. Right? We go in again. Page 74. Right? Page 74. You want to read it or you want to hit it?
74.
Come here.
All right.
You're going down to here, and then I'll just flip it and let's try a little piece again.
All right. We'll see.
Let's take your time and cut it through, right?
All right.
Baba Kusha.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, sir.
The originator of the new scientific ethnology,
right? So they're saying the originator of the new scientific ethnology, right, which is the study of cultures. So you're studying the cultures of the different races, but most predominantly you're studying the culture of Africa and Africans and the Negroes, right? Well,
was Dr. Samuel George Morton.
Right, so Dr. Samuel George Morton was the one who was doing the study of races between Negroes and Africans, right? Go ahead. Because remember, of Philadelphia, go ahead.
Oh, Philadelphia.
Right, hold it, right? Because remember, when we read earlier, these historians were saying that Africans are not Negroes. So now they're doing the research, go ahead.
Who published a book in 1839 that promised to bring an end to loose speculation about racial origin.
Right, so he promised to publish a book. Why is he doing his studies on the races, on ethnology? He promised to publish a book, right, that will end the loose speculation to racial origins. So what he's saying is, I'm going to write a book so people now won't be confused on who these races is. Go ahead.
And differences by opening an era of hard-headed
empirism.
Morton Crania Americana,
right?
Was the result of years of colonialism. Morton
collecting. Yeah, we have free mind that come up a little closer.
Yes.
Collecting.
Right, collecting and examining human skulls.
Right, so Morton's Crania Americana, right, was the result of years of collecting and examining human skulls. So this is what Morton was doing, and this is the book that he bring out, right, with years of data studying skulls. Right, go ahead.
As he gathered and studied the crania of different types of men.
Right, so the crania dealing with the skull, he gathered at skulls and did different studies of different types of men. Right, go ahead.
Morton became aware of the difference between the white Indians and the Negro skull.
Right, so now, that's not what I was sorted out. Right, so now he gathered and studied crania of different types of men. That is what Morton did. Right, he became aware of the differences between white, Indian, and Negro skulls. Right, so he wasn't just doing one type of human remains. He was doing different types of skulls. Right, so now the Indian, the white, and the Negro. That's not the East Indian I'm talking about. Right, go ahead.
And of the fact that the ancient crania from a given race did not seem to be different from those of their modern descendants.
Right, so we're saying for a fact that the ancient race, the skulls, when you study it, it's no different from the modern people today. You understand? From the modern descendants. So when he did the tracing or the study of the skulls from the ancient times till now, he realizing, wait now, it's the same thing. You do it with the Indians, same thing. You do it with the Negroes, same thing. Right? You do it with the Africans as well, same thing. Go ahead.
Morton concluded that the race had always had the same physical characteristics.
Right, so what Morton is saying is that the races, when he studied them, they always had the same physical characteristics. Go ahead.
And by implication, the same mental qualities.
The same mental qualities. Go ahead.
This
is the interesting part here now.
In the 1840s, Morton collaborated with George R. Glidden, and
Egyptologist.
Yeah, an Egyptologist.
Right, so now Morton in the 1840s, the same one who studying the cranial remains here, he now collaborated with George R. Glidden, who is an Egyptologist. All right, go ahead.
He provided him with mummies' heads and information about.
Right, so Glidden provided him with mummy heads and information about. Go ahead. Write it down.
Huh?
Write it down.
Oh, the racial significance of the Egyptian's tomb.
Right, inscriptions. So now, yeah, right.
Encryption.
Right. So now, what they're doing is giving the information with the mummy heads, the tomb inscriptions. You understand? So you give him cranial and archaeological information. Go ahead.
The crania.
The
crania, published in 1844.
Right, so in Crania, I.S.U.P.K, that is our next book, published in 1844. Go ahead.
Morton pointed out the both cranial and
archaeological
evidence showed that the Egyptians.
So now, Morton pointing out here now, after they come together and they collaborated and decided to give information back and forth, study the mummy heads, the archaeological evidence, that is meaning the inscriptions on the tombs and all them tombs, on the caskets, whatever the case might be. They study the skulls in Egypt and modern America. These were common here, right? Morton pointed out, read back on Morton pointed out.
Morton pointed out that both cranial
head,
right, and
archaeological
evidence
showed. So both skull evidence, cranial evidence, and archaeological with all the inscriptions on the tomb, so forth. He's saying that this evidence showed. Go ahead.
That the Egyptians
the so-called Africans. Go ahead.
Showed that the Egyptians were not Negroes.
So he's saying that these evidence showed that Egyptians totally different from Negroes. He said that it showed that the Egyptians were not Negroes. You understand? Go ahead.
Abolitionists and colonization.
Abolitionists and colonizationists. The abolitionists is those who saying that black people should be treated better, opposed to the colonizationists, who is the ones who instituting the law on the slaves. Go ahead.
Had same servile positions in ancient Egypt as in modern America.
You understand? So what he's saying, that is the right? Yeah. So what he's saying is that the same position that these skulls, when I test these skulls in ancient Egypt, I mean all these tombs, you understand? And I test these skulls with the people in America. What he's saying is that these same people, the Negroes, well, he's saying Africans are not Negroes. You already conclude that by saying that the same position that these people in Egypt had is the same servile position that they have in modern America, which is servitude. You understand? So what Morton gets to realize is that the same people in Egypt, servant was a servant under Pharaoh, is the same people who is servants in modern America. You understand? That is what Morton discovered. Now we're going to go into something else as well too. You understand? So Morton discovered that the Negroes were not Africans. The Negroes discovered here, they are in servitude. They are slaves. You understand? And so-called black man, this is the thing that you have to understand, right? This is the thing that you have to understand. That when you hear you go through all these records, you go through these classes, you understand? Your whole mindset of you being an African is immediately going to change. You're going to see things totally different because these is the things that they're not going to bring out in the schooling system. They're not going to bring out that in the local schools. They're not going to have these things laid down in the libraries for the so-called black man just to walk in and read. You understand? And they could barely even find it on the internet. But again, it had men before us who studied and learned and passed it on to other men to pass it to us. And now we're passing it to you so that you could pass it to your children. Then you're going to understand it's not an African. Then you're going to understand King James wasn't black. Then you're going to understand you is a total separate people, you understand, from these Africans, from these people here. That is why you're not getting yourself tied up in their culture. That is why they're not getting themselves tied up in your culture. Because they know that they are separate people also from you. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6, Bible question. If I have it right. When he most likely he separated us. You understand? So Morton discovered that you so-called black man, you is not an African. You understand? So what the scholars trying to say, again, they're trying to show so-called black man that your race, your identity, the so-called identity of the Africans is two different identities. You understand? Morton already let us know through his history, through his research, you understand that the same servile position that they had in Egypt is the same servile position here in America. You understand? And then you're going to understand that it was the same people that was delivered by the hands of Moses under the authority of the Most High. You understand? There is where you're going to understand. When you go more into the history, into your history in the Bible, you're going to see whereby what your forefathers left for you is so important. You understand? You're also going to understand that the same people the Lord deliver with Moses, use the same people that the Lord going to deliver when he make his second return. These other nations know that. Because if Morton could do his research and understand that Negroes and Africans is two different people, and they're doing the biblical homework as well too, they're going to understand that Christ coming back for you, so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man. That is why when we put up the 12 tribe chart, with the 12 tribes who the Lord coming back for, this is what we have to pay attention to. You understand? Go ahead when you have it, Officer Shah.
Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6. for thou art an holy people.
Lord letting you know, so-called Negroes, that you are a holy people. Go ahead.
Unto the Most High thy power. And the Most High thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people
God
unto himself.
choose you. Away from the Africans, away from the East Indians, away from the Chinese, away from the oppressor. The Lord chose you to be a special people unto himself. Go ahead.
Above all the people.
Above all races. Go ahead.
That are upon the face of the earth.
You understand? So above all races that are upon the face of the earth, the Lord chose you, so-called black man. These other nations, they know he is not African, but to keep you confused, to keep you ignorant of your own identity, which is the most important thing on the face of the earth right now, you knowing who you are, they just keep feeding you with all these different things. Africans, African apology, African diaspora, emancipation day, and all these different African things. They keep pushing on you, so-called black man, pushing on you. But these white scholars and even black scholars and all too, they came to the understanding and realization that you is not a Negro. You, sorry, Salakia, you is not an African. They know that. You understand? But yet still, we're not getting it in the churches. We're not getting it in the schooling system. We barely could find it in the library. And then the people that over us, who have quote unquote more influence than us in the social world out there, with all the movements and all these different things, keep pushing the black man is African. Because they themselves don't even know. Because they wasn't even exposed to the knowledge or the history of who is not African. You understand? That is why we say to come into the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General YAHANNA, you're going to learn plenty. You understand? You're going to learn a lot of who you are. You understand? These other nations, they know that you was the one who was in servitude. They know that you was the ones that Christ, under the hand of Moses, came to redeem. They know that you are the ones that built the pyramids. They know that. You understand? They know he's the ones who built the pyramids in Egypt. Yes, you so-called Negro. They know you is the ones who built the pyramids. They know that your forefathers is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They know about Solomon and David. You understand? And Samuel and all these different men. They know. They know that you are the true Jews and not the so-called Amaleks or the so-called those with the black hat and the ponytail on the side of the head. They know that they are not the true Jews. The Lord say, I know your works and tribulation and poverty. He know the things that the so-called Negro is going through, not the so-called African. The Lord say, you Ethiopians will be killed by my sword. You understand? Paraphrasing scripture, the Lord say, I know your works, I know your tribulation, I know your poverty, but thou art rich. But we don't understand the things that the Lord have put in store for us. If we keep his laws, commandments, and statutes, and he says commandments is not grievous, meaning it's not burdensome. You understand? I know your works, tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews, but are not. He knows that the so-called white man who call themselves Jews, they are not the true Jews. He say, but they are the synagogue of Satan. You understand? We don't understand the treasure that our forefathers left for us. Again, like I used to say before, you wouldn't know everything one time. But little things like this, you knowing is not an African, very important. You knowing your identity is very important. So-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man. You understand? I'm going to go into this next article here. All right? So there's a book called I.S.U.P.K, right? Talking about the Negro race. Now I'm just going to skim through a few pages fast. So the saying here, the true Negro confirmation requires no commitment, but is necessary to observe that a practiced eye readily detects a few heads with decidedly mixed characters. So now, again, this is what Morton going through, right? This is his records and the things that he had written in his book called I.S.U.P.K, right? In which those of the Negro predominate. For these, I propose that the name of Negroid crania for while the osteological development is more or less that of the Negro. And so now we going through, he doing his history work, you understand, his research and documenting it, right? Let me jump to page 21. Right, so again, documenting his work again, 9 skulls of mummified Egyptians taken by Mr. Glyden from a large pit, you understand, which had just been opened by the Arabs. Right, so now they're doing the homework, the research, cranial and archaeological work, and you know, just touching on there's a few images that show up showing any difference in cranial work. You understand, when they're doing the work on the skulls, right? So now 9, right? So there's a different work that is showing you with the cranial of the different skulls, or them compare them and match them, those of Negro, those of Africans, right? 19. Right, so we're going to go to page 119, right? Number 46. Here it's saying number 46 of page 119 in the book where Morton did his research, right? I use the word aboriginal in place with some reservation. It had been supposed by learned authorities that Africa was peopled by Negroes, meaning that in Africa it had Negro people. You understand? Before the Hamitic tribes entered that country. So he's saying, before the Hamitic tribes entered that country, I do not suppose Ham to have been the progenitor of the Negro race. Just like we read in this next book here. Remember, there's a book that another historian wrote. Just like we read in this book, the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, he's saying the same thing, that he don't believe that Ham is the forefather of the Negro race. What that also telling you, so-called black man, that these white people, they know that you is not a so-called African. So when you're watching all these documentaries on TV and YouTube and whatever the case might be, and you see them going on in them pits and opening mummy inscriptions and all kind of fancy things, they know exactly who you are, so-called black man. They know exactly who the Egyptians are, who the Africans are. And then they come and they give you another information and make you run with it till this day. You believing that you have to follow the how much laws are marked. You understand? You believing that the Ankh and the All-Seeing Eye and Horus and all these different garbage. When you have your own history, when you have your own culture to follow. You understand? We're going to get a little more into that culture and history also. Right? We go down to 49. Right? It's saying here in 49 in Jeremiah, Cush and Phut are names of African nations. They also know that. These white historians know the biblical names are the African nations also. But it's only we who don't know it because it's not being taught by the people who are supposed to be our gatekeepers. It's not being taught by the Christian church. Definitely not by the Muslim mosque. You understand? Definitely not by all these Black Power movements and Black Power marches and leaders and whatever. They're not teaching it that. But these white people, the deceiver, the devil the Bible speaks of, they know exactly who you are. They know exactly your records. They know your history better than you even know it. Because yet still in 2021, going into 2022, we still running around saying what? We're Africans. You understand? We're part of the African diaspora. When in Africa, you have over 40 countries. You understand? And many different dialects. And if you have the so-called Negro man to find where he come from in Africa or his dialect, can't go down there. But all these African leaders here in Trinidad and in Jamaica and Barbados and all these different places, they can't point it to your country in Africa or your language in Africa. They can't do that. You understand? Page 98. I'm going to scroll back up to page 98. And in this book also too, page 98, 8. In this book also too, they're showing you many different things with mixed descent and all them different things like that. You understand? 98, number 8, it's saying here, Negroes were numerous in Egypt. So, again, showing you a difference between Negroes and Africans. In Egypt, the same we are numerous. When you do the biblical records, you do the biblical history, you're seeing whereby we were in Egypt under servitude. You understand? The saying here, Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times was the same as it is now, that of servants and slaves. These so-called white people know exactly who you are. They know when they're walking around and looking at the so-called Negro in servitude position behind all these counters or these stores or selling drugs or whatsoever the case may be, because when we're selling drugs, we're not even doing it for we. We don't even know that. You understand? It's for all these other nations that high over us. They know who you are. They know you in that position. That is the Lord's chosen people. That is the true Jews. Them is not African. But once they keep you ignorant, your ignorance is building their empire. You understand? The so-called ignorance of the Negro man is what building up all these other races' empires. Because you don't know who is. You understand? And again, that is one of the most important things for you to understand, so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, is you knowing exactly who you are. You knowing that you are part of the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel. You are the Lord's chosen people. Keeping the Most High laws is what will bring you back to being that warrior that the Most High wants you to be. You understand? Understanding the things that your foreparents leave for you to follow. Then we go say, give me, let's see what time it is, 7:40. Give me Luke chapter 21 and verse 21, Baba Kusha. Right? Because I'm going to show where the distortion is come. When I say the distortion is come, because again, some people still thinking Africans sold Africans into slavery, because why? We came from Africa. But again, they don't go before Africa to show you exactly who you are or where you came from. You understand? And if you don't know who you are, as some of them singers say, or writers, if you don't know who you are, where you come from, it definitely you don't know where you're going. You understand? But again, the Lord says, so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, you gather yourself together. Gather yourself together, O nation not desired. Look at the heinous things that we went through. Slavery was one. You understand? And not only slavery by the white man, but by many other races throughout biblical records. Even the East Indians had their hand in the slavery of the Lord's chosen people, the Lord's jewel, the Lord's gems, the Lord's goodly things, as we read in the book of Joel. You understand? When you have it, word of Sasha.
Luke chapter 21 and verse
21, Baba Kusha.
21?
Yeah.
Luke chapter 21 and verse 21. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
Go back up again, Baba Kusha. Huh? Jump up a bit. Start from 20.
Okay.
Luke
chapter 21 and verse 20. And when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
You understand? And this is Christ here speaking. Christ is letting us know. Back at that time, when you see Jerusalem surrounded with armies, know that the destruction of Israel is going to happen. The destruction of Israel is going to take place. You understand? Go ahead.
Verse 21. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
And you say, let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. And what Christ was talking about was to flee into Africa. That is how we end up in Africa. Go ahead.
And let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let none them that are in the country enter thereinto.
You understand? So the Lord is saying, when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, know that destruction is going to take place. You understand? And this is when we fled from in Jerusalem, fleeing from that Roman persecution. We're going to read from our next book here called From Babylon to Timbuktu. This is our next historian here, Rudolph R. Winslow. And he have his records when he did his research to show again that the Negro man fled, run into Africa. Letting you know that the Negro man is totally different from the African. You understand? That is your night, Officer Shah, right? Verse 21. The end of verse 21 was that is your night. Right, but no sweat. Right, so we're going to read from Babylon to Timbuktu. In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. Now, this is what happened when Jerusalem compasses with armies, what Christ was talking about. They put an end to our state with great slaughter. So now, you remember people flee because Christ said flee, run into the mountains. You understand? And when the Romans came in, when the white men came in, they put an end to our state with great slaughter. It wasn't just a little killing here or a little killing there. Great slaughter. So real people lost their lives. You understand? During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people that remained, who didn't run, right? During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. So over 1 million of us fled into Africa. Now, take this into consideration, right? Just a few Venezuelans come across in Trinidad and it was causing a disturbance. You understand? You might see 6 coming about here, you might see 25 coming about. So, you understand what I'm saying? You might see a pirogue bringing a few of them, and that was causing a disturbance in Trinidad here. But now we're seeing whereby 1 million Jews, over 1 million Jews, that is like the whole of Trinidad flying around in Africa. You understand? Fleeing from persecution of the so-called white man. You understand? Over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. This is what this historian recorded. You understand? That the slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. It wasn't full with black Africans. You understand? It was filled with black Jews because, of course, we fled from Israel, from Jerusalem, into Africa. You understand? Fleeing the destruction of the so-called white man. Let's see if I find it here. That is why when you look at all these little articles here, you're seeing whereby it's saying Negroes to be sold. You understand? Negroes for sale. You understand? You ain't seeing Africans for sale. And back at that time, they knew that they were Africans, even by the biblical names, Cush or Foot or Philistines. They didn't see nothing like that, Philistines for sale or whatsoever the case might be. They know the Negroes and the Africans, they know was two different people. You understand? Let me jump to page 86. Should lock here. Bear with me 1 minute. All right, so we're going again. All right, so page 86, the same book, From Babylon to Timbuktu. It's saying here the pagans and the Romans attacked the Jews indiscriminately. Both the Jewish soldiers and the uninvolved peaceful population without mercy. You understand? That letting know, as we just read before, we was captured with great slaughter. You understand? As a result of the merciless attack, many of the Jews fled to parts of northwest Africa known as Tanzania, Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania. Many of the Jews fled in areas where Rome did not have any jurisdiction. This was to the region of the south, right? So now we're seeing here where Rome at that time didn't have jurisdiction going into Africa. You understand? So now they didn't have the access to go in and get us, right? We're going to see something. Hold on. Right. You're going to see something here. So they didn't have access to us, but of course, you're going to understand why now the so-called Africans was able to round us up, sell us to the so-called white man. You understand? So we're going again. Page 90. All right, it's saying here, the black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. So what is historians still separating the black Jews from the Africans, the Jews from the Africans, two totally different people. You understand? They say the black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. They carried their culture, history, laws, and written records with them. This assured them a constant precedent for the development of a higher social organization. So we carried our culture, our history, and our laws. You understand? Which is the laws that the Most High give us. You understand? We carry that with us in Africa. Right? Because of the stability of the black Jewish culture, the Jews were not absorbed into the autonomous population. So we wasn't absorbed into the African tribes. Because remember, we have our own culture. You understand? Just like the East Indians come across in Trinidad here, they didn't get absorbed into black people culture. You understand? They still preserve what they are. They still preserve what little of their culture they have till it end up being big. You understand? In fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes. The Jews made use of every opportunity. So now some of the native Africans, they end up getting absorbed. You understand? We made use of every opportunity. They were an industrious and skillful people. In the Jewish Ghanaian states, they were found kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians. Now, I had all them things back then. Mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, goldsmiths, leather workers, potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturalists, etc. Letting you know that the Jews, we had our own tribal nations. We had goldsmiths. You understand? We had people dealing with gold. We had people dealing with agriculture. You understand? We had secretaries, treasurers. We had people interpreting language. You understand? Engineers, doctors. We had historians and all too. You understand what I'm saying? Mathematicians, jewelers. And if you look in the scriptures that have, I forget exactly which part it is, but it's talking about with the chicks are gold. You understand what I'm saying? Learning all them gold teeth that you see Negroes having in the mouth, that is part of our culture. We had jewelers and goldsmiths and painters of art, leather workers, because when you look at the clothes we wear, you understand? And all these different things. We was a thriving people in Jerusalem. The Lord Christ tell us to flee into the mountains, flee to Africa, fleeing from the persecution of the so-called white man. You understand? And we being that separate people, having that separate culture, it wasn't hard for the native Africans to round us up and sell us to the so-called white man and the Arabs. It wasn't hard for them to do. You understand? Because of course we wasn't We wasn't dressing like this. You understand what I'm saying? We was not dressing like that. Maybe if we were dressing like that, we might have been able to hide. The transatlantic slave trade, you understand, might not have been so big. You catch what I'm saying?
Real feminine.
I'm telling you. You understand? So now when you watch, for example, right? When you watch like how brothers dress in this picture here in the corner here, I know if the screen will pick it up. You understand? But let's type in I.S.U.P.K on Google and you will see all the leather work and the studs and the diamonds and the cheeks with gold. You understand? As the scriptures, as our forefathers leave us to read. You understand? You seeing that our culture is a totally different culture than the Africans. You understand? Watch how they dress here. And then when you go back and you watch how the native Africans they dress, right on to 2018, you know, and they two totally different people. Nah, you won't get that. Yeah, no sir, much thanks though. You understand? You seeing that we are total different people. And this is what we have to understand, so-called black man, Hispanic man, and native Indian man. The Lord said that He chose us to be a separate people above all people that are upon the face of the earth. You understand? The Lord don't want us to be entangled with these other nations. The Lord said, gather yourself together, O nation not desired. You understand? Give me the book of give me Babakusha. I won't go through all that tonight, but they were seeing where Moses was taken for an Egyptian. You understand? You see where Moses was taken for Egyptian. You see where Paul was taken for Egyptian. You understand? You see where the Moses say, well, we read that last week where he put that difference between the Egyptians and Israel. You understand? You see where Moses put his hand in his bosom and it came out white as snow, showing that we was that dark race of people. You know, we flee into Africa so that we wouldn't stick out. You understand? That we would be preserved. Yes, now hold on, Go ahead.
That's 4 and 6.
Yeah, let me hear what you're saying. Let's see if you're writing out. That is it? That is the bosom?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can read it then. That was what I was looking for though, but that has to go up there.
Exodus chapter 4 and verse 6. And the Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom.
Right, so the Lord telling Moses to take your hand and put it into your bosom. All right, go ahead.
And he put his hand.
So you take your hand, bosom. Put it into your bosom, go ahead.
And when he took it out,
when he take it out,
his hand was like leprosy as snow. So
his hand was leprous as snow. And of course, if you know what is leprosy, like you see a dark person having leprosy, it's going to change from dark and look almost like the white man. You understand? And that is what happened with Moses' hand. The Lord said, put it in your bosom, take it out. When you take out your hand white as snow. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And he said, put thy hand into thy bosom again.
Put back your hand in your bosom again. Go ahead.
And he put his hand into his bosom again. And he plucked it out of his bosom.
When you take out your hand,
and behold, it was turned again as his other flesh.
Right? When you take out the hand, it became as his other flesh, meaning the rest of the parts of his body, that is how his hand came back. You understand? Which was dark. Letting you know Moses was a dark person. Moses wasn't white as the TV screen and all these social media things projected to be. Moses was dark skinned from the tribe of Levi. Moses was a Levite. You understand? I ain't seen what book this comes from, but I thought I hide it here. But There's a next piece, a little piece of history again. It's saying here, right? Both buyers, right? Europeans and sellers, Africans. So now both the buyers, the Europeans, and the sellers, the Africans, they saw the people traded into captivity on the African coast as outsiders. Of course, they're going to see us as outsiders because we run from Jerusalem into their land. We run into their country, into their place among their natives. So they're going to see us as outsiders. You understand? Just like when the Venezuelans run from their country and come here, fleeing from the hardship that is across there, the East Indians see them as outsiders. You understand what I'm saying? The native Africans knew that we were not their people. You understand what I'm saying? So again, so-called black man, Hispanic man, native Indian man, woman, child. We are the I.S.U.P.K, which started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding Gen.YAHANNA. In here, you're going to learn to keep the laws of the Most High. You're going to learn to connect back with your power, with your King Yahushua. You understand? Before you make his second return. All right? Don't forget to subscribe to all the I.S.U.P.K channels, Facebook, Twitter, Clubhouse, Instagram, TikTok, whatsoever it may be. Right? Connect with us. With that, I'm going to pass the class over to Priest and Officer Shah.
Security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K out of 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding Gen.YAHANNA. New brothers and sisters, when a new brother or sister comes into the school that off limits for 6 months, they are here to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves off the wood. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a peculiar person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to another brother or sister. Then another 6 months, which the brother or sister will support each other. After the 6-month period, the brother or sister get permission from the head to marry. Tithe, which is the commandment. You can find this in Number chapter 18 and verse 21, Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. Means 10 in Hebrew, as my share. 10% of every penny and increase. The Most High gives you to your treasury department or teacher, priest fund. Free will offering for priests, non-mandatory, whatever amount you like to give. Upcoming holy convocations. That will be the memorial blowing of trumpets, the first day of the 7th month. That will be Monday, the 6th September 2021. You can find this in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 24 to 25. Remind the Akim that advantage to check on social media such as I.S.U.P.K, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for I.S.U.P.K events and material. If your brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then just start wearing our black, which include black boots, light shirt, light pants, light headband or scarf. That we say Majum, Sa, Panakwadam. We're going to say Lord Prayer in Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabashamayam, Kodash, Ayah, Tamka, Yahweh, Nakoka, Aba'a, Tezaka, Ayah, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa, Ayah, Asmayam, Natan, Anawa, Lakam, Kal, Yawam, Wasalakno, Awakno, Wasalakno, Wakino, Wala'a, Tabianoa, Nasawan, Abal, Obshaino, Mayan, Right, Ayah, Malakwa, Ma'ala, Zafarat, Ailomio, Aman.
You just said in English, O Father,
our Father,
which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come. Will be done. In earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
We will say the blessings, Barak, Atah, Yahweh, Shai, Makala, Wa'al-Hayab, Matazavia, Al-Wapiahana, Allah, Wapium.
Wapium.
Asaranium.
Saranium.
Aquatazalium.
Aquatazalium.
Akayalium. Wapium. Yahweh. Bashem. Oshai. Tawalaman.
What you just said in English, bless you, Yahweh.
Bless Yahweh.
And Yahweh.
Michael.
The angel. Commanding General. The general.
The
captain.
captain.
The officer.
The trooper.
And the sister.
Yahweh.
The name of Yahweh. Thank you. So be it.
So be it. We're going to say the Hakat. Yahweh. Bashem. Oshai. Abukasha. Tananawa. Akat. Apa. Kamakala. Akamanawa. Akat. Ata. Atumazarium. Akat. Akoyam. Amatayam. Akat. Ayakowa. Atamala. Nagarishin. Bashem. Oshai. Tawalaman.
What you just said in English. Yahweh. The name of Yahweh. Please give us the power. The power to heal. All manner of sickness. And all manner of disease. The power to cleanse the leper. The power to raise the dead. The power against unclean spirits. To cast them out. The name of Yahweh. Thank you. So be it. What we're going to say is the prayer of the curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh. King of heaven and earth. And all things living. Yahweh. The name of Yahweh. Listen to us now. Right now. Send evils and curses. And punishment and destruction. To the heathen. That speak against us. Like prophet. The teacher. The princes. The priest. The Israelite brothers. And the school. Send evils and curses. And punishment and destruction. To the heathen. Shake loose. The treasure of the rich of Israel that refuse to give to the school. Pause their riches. Then take to thy sanctuary. Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction to the Edomites and the nation and their drug dealers, court system, prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the government enemies, Amalek synagogues and armies, Roman Catholic, Christianity, Egyptology, militia, Klan, Aryan nation, skinheads, Ozzy gay movement, lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space program, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Wall Street, open up the internet, and the airwaves, cable access channel, and the radio channel, convict the spirit, any of thy people that seek to stop us, bring swift destruction to all the heathen that stand in the way, try to stop us from broadcasting your words through the planet Earth. Let loose all the plagues, cause them to go to and fro through you and consume them. Let the plague shake the house of the thief and the murder. Like Yahweh, Michael, and Gabriel come down with the flying saucers and punish all the heathen that come up against us, and to speak thy word, cause it to be known by all, and to the angels that have done it, cause it to be spread through the media, through the whole world, cause them to shake at thy coming. In the name of Yahweh, thank you always. So be it.
We're going to say the blessings of Yahweh, Hashem, Oshai, Noah, SHALAM,
Commander General YAHANNA, General, Captain, the officer, troopers, sisters, children, all the destroyed of Israel, Kayawana, Shariah, Kintian family, Oslan family, Koto family, Philip family, Fletcher family.
All the brothers and sisters in the I.S.U.P.K.
All brothers and sisters in the I.S.U.P.K.
All the brothers and sisters coming.
All brothers and sisters coming to the church.
Train and babies in the I.S.U.P.K.
Train and babies in the I.S.U.P.K.
Francois family.
Brown family. Zion. Wesleyan. Daniela. Amelia. Ashida. Chantel. Mylene. Nima. Khadijah. Bahashem. Oshai. Tawalaman.
So,
what you just said in English, Lord, in the name of Yahweh, bless us, and Israel, and the school, bless, heal, shield, protect, love one, name of Yahweh. Thank you.
So be it. So, let's get a teacher one quick salute. Imagine Shabbat, Imagine Barak, Yahweh Shimon Shabbat Katal, So, let's get the sisters online and one quickly salute. Imagine Shabbat, Imagine Barak, Yahweh Shemaraton Bashim Yoshai. Yalimata, consciousness. Yeah.